People, Deluded, I'm back. Another video on the go and whatnot. As you lot know, I'm en route to my day job and we've got a couple minutes window. Why not exploit it and make some vids? Apologies for all background noises and things I can't control. Apologies for moving my hand every now and again. I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you folks. The camera thing holding it is long. I got my arm rested on this little thing here, so we'll crack on. But scout the internet as you do, and yeah, we might as well speak about them. The first is actually Mertesacker. Now, I've paraphrased some stuff off the net, like I said, but it's Mertesacker. I don't know why he's speaking in the press. Is it to promote his book that's come out? Is he just asked Wenger questions? I'm not sure for the specific reason, but shout out to Mertesacker. He said we could show off our class across 6 FA Cup games, but 38 league games in 10 months were a different matter. We simply lacked the consistency all top teams needed. You couldn't win the league on 8 defeats a year. Arsene Wenger was always the kind of manager whose belief in his team qualities was sturdy as a rock and whose approach matters with never-ending patience. He didn't lose his nerve during the losing streaks either. He stuck with his convictions and his players no matter how strong the wind was blowing. It was his greatest strength and potentially his greatest weakness. He never said the weakness part, that's me. He didn't lose, wondering whether it was also his greatest weakness and whether he was too lenient with us, in my opinion, a little too simplistic. If the fans got their way, there would have been five new top signings every year. Spend some effing money, they would chant from the stands after defeats. But Wenger trusted the players he had. I never met another manager who believed more strongly in his squad's ability. First and foremost, Wenger saw us as human beings and he had a lot of faith in us, which is why he stood by us. Ultimately, we as players need to ask ourselves whether we did everything to justify his trust. Did we implement his instructions perfectly? Were we pulling together? Did we learn from our mistakes? No. Wenger had won 3 Premier League titles, which is proof enough of his standing as a manager. The team, on the other hand, had fallen short since 2004. So I think you've got to take the rough with the smooth. At the end of the day, he's the manager. If he hasn't won a trophy since 2004 of significance like that, there's no way around it. It is Arsene Wenger. As much as I love him, there's been many different members of the playing squad, but the same old variables have been there, in which I know Arsenal fans are mocked for it now, but there was a time people would say 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Arsenal coming fourth. We used to get mocked for coming fourth. How I actually miss them days. But you can't get away with it. It is the manager. Obviously, back in the days of you lot that are older than me in the 70s and 80s and beyond that, but me coming up, I'm a 90s baby. I come up in the 2000s, so I was seeing Roy Keane's, Vieira's, but the very things we praise about footballers now with leadership, consistency, and just wanting it, these were the bare minimum. And even me and my Sunday League team is nowhere near this, but it's the bare minimum. On one hand, I like to see winners, I like to see players that are hungry and all of these things, but this is the bare minimum if you want to win Premier Leagues and stuff. It's the bare minimum. If everybody holds themselves to high standards, then you can have a platform where Wenger can just trust you. But as you know, it is a weakness. Like Mertesacker said, he didn't say it in other words, but when you've got players that aren't as strong in terms of their character, just simply lack the ability, there's going to be, oh Jesus Christ, there's going to be issues. Oh Lord. Oh my God, people have lost composure, but there's gonna be, yeah, I'm not doing these videos outside. If you saw that, oh my, but carrying on, people, there's obviously gonna be issues. There's gonna be issues when players just aren't good enough, and like I said, back to Wenger, his greatest strengths that he believes in players, and if you're actually deserving of that belief, it gets through it. But if you're not deserving of it, it creates a hiding space of underperformance, and you're still playing. And Arsenal did become kind of that to a degree. I do think Wenger was done a bit dirty, but obviously we know the players weren't at it. And on one hand, again, you're the manager. If you're constantly seeing people betray your trust, do you change it? Or if you keep persisting with these same individuals who's showing you time and time again, is it their fault or is it yours? So yeah, man, it's a bit irrelevant, but apologies, pardon me, people. It's nice to see that he was honest, people. He's like, clearly, for what I said about Wenger, they were unable to, whether not being good enough or not, to simply implement tactics and just replicate what's needed over 38 games to do major things in the league. Moving on to Rob Holding, now it's a short one on Rob Holding. Apparently he's done his coaching badges already, people, which Holding's in his mid-20s. It's lovely to see somebody so switched on like that. I can imagine he's doing his coaching badges. Hopefully he set himself up with some investments, because the earnings in football doesn't last forever. And yeah, man, and all of these sort of things. I like to see someone, whether he wants to be a coach or not, the fact that he's trying to gain qualifications off the field and expand himself is good. And I know Bellerin is normally the chief in the Arsenal squad in terms of you know, sticking up for environment changes and animal cruelty and things like that. But I see Holding doing all them sort of things, and Holding's always one of the players you always see, whether it's because he was, not because he was injured, but obviously you have more time in your hands when you're injured. He's always in the community, doing the little community schools project with Arsenal and all these other things, outreach projects and stuff. So I like to see Holding, man. He's from, what, Manchester, Bolton sides as well, so he knows what it means to the average Joe and the average kid to see these sort of people they see on the TV and that. I don't think he come from the richest of backgrounds, so I love Rob Holding, and these things make me love him even more. Moving on to a couple sound bites on Raul Sanllehi now, and it's a fact, people. We all know it's a long way to go, but Raul Sanllehi, along with everybody, we've had a good summer. Raul Escobar has made some major movements for us. For me, obviously, the incomings are good, but for me, what I wanted to see was a proactive approach. I'm actively seeing people thinking about the future, moving players on, whether if they've got 1 or 2 years left in their contract, moving players on for wages that are not worth it, bringing in players that can improve the squad, constantly looking what we can do off the field as well to make us better as well. And we all know Raul Sanllehi, he's got extensive ties in, I want to say corporate world, but the football corporate world with UEFA and the governing bodies. He's obviously worked vaguely, well for me anyways, I say vaguely in marketing, so he's got the South American links. He's obviously been at Barcelona, so he's going to be well connected and well plugged, and he's been able to exploit this experience and skills to help us get players. You've seen us negotiating with agents where when we used to be linked with players, you could find out he was a client of so-and-so and you just knew Arsenal weren't going to be involved. And I like to see it. We're still doing the academy approach, we're still doing the scouting approach, but it's like we're entertaining middlemen of sorts and seeing what deals we can be done. And when you're doing everything possible, people, you have more chance of success. But just a couple things I saw on goal.com, and I've copied and pasted them randomly. It said, he's a good negotiator, one agent told Goal. Raul knows how to handle things in the right way. There's no bullshit with him, basically. There's no way of getting around it, people. There's no bullshit with him. If he says he's going to do something, then he does it. There are plenty in the industry who will mess you around and change things at the last minute, but he's not one of them. So I like to see that in a day and age where words mean nothing, and especially in the world of football where words definitely mean nothing, he's a man of honour, he's a man of principles. He's clearly old-fashioned in it. When he shakes hands, things get done, people. I'm sure just because of the industry he's worked with, of course he's not been on the best of terms with everyone. I'm sure there'll be at least one individual that had something different to say, but it's lovely to hear that, people. Moving on from that, he said, the importance of the club, the academy to the club is clear day to day. A high-placed figure within Halen told Goal. It's so refreshing they see it as a shining light. You don't see Raul Sanllehi all the time because what he does is very strategic, but you do see him and you get the impression that he's very much someone you can talk to. So it's nice to see, and people I've spoke to without getting in on that, they've been shocked. Like, they've shook hands with Raul Sanllehi, he's holding the door for them and all of these sort of things that you wouldn't expect someone standing with Raul, standing that Raul has, to be doing. And it's testament that he's humble, and that's what we're about as a football club: humility, winning through harmony, collaboration to collectively move forward to our goals, and just caring about everybody. Of course there's a hierarchy, of course people know it's Raul Sanllehi, he's a big dog, you can't mess around, but everybody's nice, sort of thing. So it's lovely to see. At the end of the day, the academy, apologies people, let's just wait. Mr. Motorbike man, but he said at the end of the day, the academy is about developing young players for the club, but it's also clear that it's about trying to develop good young people. If they come through as good Arsenal players, that's even better. So for Raul Sanllehi, it's certainly not the case. It's certainly not a case of, is this what I want and you will deliver it better. It's what we want and how we are going to achieve it. Okay, whatever that means. I really should be copying and pasting properly. But moving on, he said, when Ivan brought Raul in, the idea was to give Ivan support because of Ivan's work with Arsenal to make sure that the club's seat at the table for the future of football was maintained. That's why his work with executive committee at UEFA and part of his work with the ECA, European Club Association, for those who don't know, was so vital to Arsenal's interest. But you can't be everywhere all the time, and Raul was brought in to provide support. The challenge for him now in this role is that and it's one that I know he has embraced very clearly, is to preserve the Arsenal ethic and everything that has been built on by prior generations, and obviously to maintain his own ethic, because I'm sure, again, you've got to have an ego to be in this role. I'm sure Raul Sanllehi, obviously Arsenal is the only thing that matters, but I'm sure he wants to leave a legacy for the short term, like we're saying, where we're defending him and people are taking pictures with him and we're positive as fans. For the medium term, we want to see an improvement, and for the long term, past him, people, he wants to obviously put a framework and plans into place for successions, because Emre's young, but he's not going to be here forever. Hosfami, Edu, all of these guys, they've got time on their hands, but they're not going to be here forever. And it's about ensuring that whether one man leaves, stays in whatever position, that this club's fabric is maintained and keeps going, people, because we have previously seen with some structures, hello mate, with United and Arsenal specifically, if one person drops out, it doesn't necessarily keep moving, and that's the club needs to be going. It needs to, I'm sure he wants to put plans into place, so 20, 30, even 50 years from now, obviously things will change and other people have a say, but he can say he helped his point moving Arsenal back or taking us to the next level. There's still a lot of work to be done, so we've got to take our time, but it is positive to hear this sort of thing, people. So that's nice. Moving on, and our former Arsenal player Kanu is not happy we sold Iwobi, people. He said, it was a surprise to everybody because it happened right at the end of the window. If I knew earlier, I could have said to him not to go, and that would have been better for him to stay. I would have said there's no need for him to go because he will still play. He's that good, and he needs to know that. I think Arsenal would have been the best place for him because it's a big club, and you want to play in a big club and in Europe in those sort of games. I would say they made a mistake 100%. Why they let him go, I don't know. He's a boy who's Arsenal in and out. He's always wanted to do his best for the club. He loves the club. But not only that, he can play football. What he brings week in, week out, the fans need to appreciate that. It is what it is with Iwobi, man. The chapter's closed. I love Iwobi. Can never rule out returning. For me, I want Iwobi to evolve as a player, man. I want to see him get 10 assists and maybe some goals into his game. I want to see him go up another level. I want to see him potentially prove people wrong. I wanted to keep Iwobi. I actually was quite kind of upset because of, you lot know me, I love the academy players, when he left. But at the end of the day, 30, 40 million, it is what it is, people, in this day and age, people. There's a debate to be had regardless of Iwobi's ability because of just the dynamic of everybody has money. Could we have finessed more money out of Everton? But that's an offer too good to turn down. Obviously, Nelson looks like he's going to get football. Pepe's been promoted. You've obviously got guys like Saka and Martinelli who are still young. Let's not put too much expectation, but can potentially step up when needed. So this is the way time goes. And as much as I love Iwobi, and he statistically had his best goal scoring season last season or the season before, and he's played freakily under Emre, you don't really know what you're going to get with him week in, week out. You don't really know it with Nelson and whatnot, but when you're not really indispensable to the team and doing things like that, you can see how he could be sold. And for me, I want to see him play even better because he's away from the marriage that was Arsenal and Alex Iwobi for all his life. More or less all his footballing life is now over. It's a new chapter. The handbrake, which we all know at times Iwobi was unfairly scapegoated and criticised. The handbrake of Arsenal and all the baggage he's released from it. He's just a new chapter. It's Everton. He started in a good way, getting an assist and a goal, I'm sure, and he's playing all right. It's a new club. They want to do their new things. Everton want to achieve whatever they want. It's about just playing, just forgetting about Arsenal, having that healthy. I want to prove you lot wrong for selling me, because if I'm, like I said with Jeffrey Adley, like I said with Marlon and Gnabry, Arsenal's irrelevant to you now, but you want to play to so good where people are scratching their heads and are like, why did you sell him? Look at Daniel Marlon now. Again, he's not world class yet, but he's got a lot of potential and he's doing all right. People are looking at it, what's going on? Why was he sold by Arsenal? Gnabry, why was he sold? What was going on? Why did he go on loan to West Brom? So you want Iwobi to continue that trend. At the end of the day, he's 23, 24 now. It's time to really define what he wants to be as a footballer. Does he want to be a left winger? Because that's where he's predominantly played by Arsenal. We all know for Nigeria, he excels in a more creative midfield role, and that's probably where he is long term for me anyways. I actually feel with time he could probably play as an 8, people, with maturity and whatnot. He's good in tight spaces, he's got an engine, just got several other things got to improve. So there's not really any much more to add, man. Of course Kanu's going to be upset, that's his fellow countryman, and obviously and he's a homegrown player, but it is what it is. On that note though, I don't feel there's anything to add, so I'm going to keep it moving. People, DG, I'm out.